Thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TTR. We're going to be talking in a moment about the latest on Ofsted with Julia Waters and latest developments that have been going on. There's been quite a few in the last week or so we'll delve into those. Just before we do that, it would be remiss of me to not thank our sponsors at Teachers Talk Radio, John Catt Educational. If you don't read educational books, everyone reads it. Everyone loves a book. Then look away now, because this is the best publisher ever, John Catt Educational. Get involved. Head over to johncatbookshop.com and you can use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off any book on the John Catt website or any number of books on the John Catt website. Julia, so let's try and condense the stuff that's been going on, because there was an open letter which you've put your signature to, which basically, well, it's quite critical, isn't it, of Bridget Phillipson, to be fair, of the Department of Education. So what's your take on that letter, and why did you sign it?
I wouldn't say that the letter is necessarily critical of Bridget Phillipson. It's addressed to Bridget Phillipson, and as the Secretary of State for Education, she clearly ultimately has the power to change things and to make the decisions that matter about education. The core criticisms in that letter are ones that I have been voicing for over 2 years now, are that the Ofsted inspection system, if the new proposed report card is implemented, will continue to have a detrimental effect on the mental health of school leaders and teachers. So my reason for signing the letter, and I'm one of over 30, and some of those are organizations rather than individuals, so it's not my letter. My reason for signing the letter is the reason you know who I am, is the reason I've been speaking for 2 years on this matter, is because I don't want any other school leader to be pushed to the extremes of despair that my sister was by an Ofsted inspection, an inspection that's meant to improve school standards and so on. And I'm more than skeptical about the new proposals.
Do you feel sort of let down? Do you feel tired of battling away, or are you still like feeling the way you've always felt, or are you sort of like, where's your sort of head at the moment? Like, are you feeling, where are you at?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, 2 years, I was an academic, and a teacher in higher education before, and I've become an unpaid campaigner because of what happened to my sister. At the moment, I feel frustrated, really, and it getting to a point where I go, well, where can I go next with this? Everybody who has the power to do something, change it, knows what the problems are, not just because I have told them, but because the senior coroner of Berkshire has told them, because the previous Education Select Committee told them, because Dame Christine Gilbert told them. There are great long lists of very sound recommendations about the changes that are needed to improve school inspections for everybody concerned. You know, when I say my concern is for the well-being of school leaders and teachers, clearly the well-being of children is dependent on the well-being of those who teach them and look after them in school. So, you know, I'm frustrated. I keep saying, I'll do this and then I'm going to stop. I'll do this and then I'm going to stop. And then something else comes along. And at the moment, I mean, we'll see that the official line by the Department for Education is this is a consultation. We'll take on board all views. You know, nothing's decided yet. So we'll see. But the reason the letter was sent was that, you know, realistically, there is no way that an entirely new inspection system can be put in place by the autumn. You know, the only way a new report card is going to replace the existing framework by the autumn is if it's a tweaked version of what's proposed in this consultation, which is already just a tweaked version of the system that's already in place, complete with all the proven life-threatening risks in it. So yeah, it's, you know, my concern is double. It's that they've been listening, they've been doing lots of big listening, but listening isn't enough unless you act on that, unless you learn by that listening and you act and you make changes for the better. And I'm not sure. But certainly that Ofsted is doing that.
Yeah. Do you feel, because I know a while ago, this is going back a fair bit now, you met Martin Oliver quite a few times. Is that right?
I met him in his first week. I believe I was the first external person that he met in his first week in post. I met him once more after that with a group of head teachers.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was very important he heard from them, head teachers who were very nearly driven to that awful act that Ruth was driven to. And I thought it was important that he hear from them what an Ofsted inspection had done to them. And actually, in all of their cases, as I will continue to argue, also the case in Ruth's, unfair inspections. You know, that's the thing. It's not like, oh, they go in and they find things that are terrible in the school that the head teacher was oblivious to, and that's what did it. No, they were, you know, unfair inspections. So yes, I met him twice quite early on, and then nothing until it's probably about a month ago when I had, maybe a bit more, the time goes, when I had a meeting with him and Bridget Phillipson. So,
I mean, just circling back on that then, because I was going to ask you this separate to that, but it almost ties in. Do you feel listened to? Do you feel genuinely listened to? Or do you feel like people are just sort of paying lip service and just sort of, you know, just sort of doing the right things, right, in inverted commas, but not really. There's almost like a bit of a hidden sort of, we're going through the motions.
Yeah, well, put it this way. I mean, my very first meeting I had with Martin Oliver, I went in there, right, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, he's not his predecessor, whom I never met, and who went out there on national media saying some of the most horrendous and untrue and hurtful things. So he wasn't his predecessor. You know, here's a new broom, give him the benefit of the doubt. And that very first meeting, he said all the right things. And I came out of that, I think the term I used was cautiously optimistic. As I said, I then had one more meeting with him, and then silence, despite asking for meetings for months and months and months. And
why do you think that is then?
I think, I mean, there there are reasons I'm not going to go into here, but I think it kind of suited Ofsted not to meet me. And I think that first meeting and the sort of initial statements have been proven to be largely performative, if you like. I know as well, I mean, Amanda Spielman, oh, I can't even remember her name. That's something, isn't it? Amanda Spielman previously had kind of made a big fuss about trying to meet me and me saying no. The fact that that was over 4 months after my sister's death, when put on the spot on national TV, and then she contacted the local authority asking to be put in touch with the next of kin, having just defended the Caversham Primary School inspection on national TV, didn't predispose me to want to meet her. So I think, Martin Oliver, I went there genuinely in good faith. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's saying the right things. He was at least a head teacher. He's experienced Ofsted inspections, been on the receiving end. I like to think that that what he said in that meeting was genuine, and that he wanted to make a change. But
is that what he said? Are we talking about the first meeting now?
The very first meeting, which is the longest and most thorough one that I have had. He said to me then that he'd taken the job because he wanted to change. He saw that Ofsted needed changing. The Ofsted inspections were too inconsistent and brutal. What happened to Ruth was wrong. It mustn't happen again. He got quite emotional during the meeting. That was genuine. But it just feels like he's sort of gone native, if you like, in Ofsted, since that he, now spouts the received line. He sounds like his predecessor. He sounds like the other officials in Ofsted.
I don't know this. You'll know more than me. Are most of the same guys there? Because I don't know. Are most of the same guys there in the leadership of Ofsted that were there before, or is that?
Apparently, Martin Oliver assures me there have been a lot of new appointments, but there are still a lot of the old guard there, definitely, and in very influential roles within Ofsted. Yeah.
Okay, so the letter itself, you've highlighted these systemic issues that need to be addressed rather than the surface level stuff. What does that mean, though? What is it exactly? Like, if someone pushed you now and said, "What is it you want?"
Yeah. Okay. Well, shall I say the things that I think that are wrong that are still there? From my perspective, probably the teaching unions will have other things. I mean, they were in agreement on these things, but they, if you go into the nitty gritty of how inspections work, I'm not the best person to comment on that, probably. But for me, the things that this new report card does not address are, this is still a system that's based on shaming, on publicly shaming individuals, head teachers, and that is wrong and it's dangerous. It's still a system that's based on competition between schools rather than collaboration.
Some people like that, though.
Yeah.
There's plenty. I could go on social media now. I could probably point to 10 leaders in education that I see. I don't necessarily know them, but I see them. I interact with them. Who sort of. There's a lot of people out there who want sort of the Progress 8 style comparisons and the judgments because for varying different reasons.
Well, that when it comes down to it, I can say I feel if people want that, I wouldn't still be here 2 years later, would I? The people who contact me, and believe me, they're still contacting me in large numbers, are not saying, please, can you stop going on about Ofsted? I really love working in an outstanding school. We love that banner on our gates and we want to keep it there. Thank you very much. No, those aren't the people who are contacting me. So if those are the people who are contacting Bridget Phillipson and she decides that that's what matters, oh, well, I've tried. I feel a bit like I did Latin A level. Hey, when people did things like that, I feel like Cassandra. I don't know if you know that, the oracle who always told the truth and no one ever believed her. I feel a bit like that, except lots of people out there do believe me. So the people who are in power who could do something about it would rather not. Or that's how it feels. And, it's like, yeah, there are things wrong with this system. We've tweaked it a bit. Will you go away now? Will you please go away now and stop bothering us? And we'll just come up with something else, tweak it around the edges, put a few nice colours on there and pretend it's a whole new system. So I think the things that I said that are wrong, it's still based on shame. It's still based on competition rather than collaboration, support, improvement. It's still based on this complete false logic, binary opposition between parents and teachers, as though their interests are different, and on another false opposition between teacher welfare and children's welfare, as though you can have one without the other. And also, I think that one of the things that Ofsted has categorically refused to countenance, but I think is absolutely essential, and I think the teaching profession should be fighting. If they want to fight for one thing, they fight for this, and it's an independent complaints and appeals process. Whatever goes wrong on as an individual level with an inspection, or if Ofsted go ahead, the DfE go ahead and they rush through a system that's got flaws in it, there needs to be some safety mechanism. There needs to be some way in which an individual school or the teaching unions, whatever, can come back and go, there's something gone wrong here, and we want someone outside Ofsted to look at this fairly, to look at our side of the argument, to interrogate the evidence, not just the evidence base presented by Ofsted, and to come up with a fair and objective conclusion.
Need a smarter way to teach? Wish your lessons had more impact? Eduflix.com. Stream educational films for teachers and students in or out of the classroom. Keep students engaged. No ads. No distractions. Try it free for 30 days at eduflix.com/try. Use code TTR. Get 50% off all orders made before June 1st. Eduflix.com.
Hi secondary school teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculums. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
Did you know that every year, half of disadvantaged children who are top attainers at primary school don't go on to achieve top GCSE maths results? At Axiom Maths, we exist to change that. Our fully funded programme helps schools nurture young mathematicians through weekly face-to-face maths circles, where pupils tackle challenging and exciting problems outside the national curriculum. With just under £3,000 annual funding, expert training and quality resources, we give schools everything they need to inspire the next generation of mathematical thinkers. Want to make a difference? Visit axiommaths.com today and join over 400 schools delivering math circles across the UK.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
So I think, that to me seems to be the one thing that everybody should unite around. And if Ofsted do a good job, if everything's fine, if I'm proven wrong, and I really want to be proven wrong about this new report card being dangerous, then there won't be many calls on that complaints process. But if Ofsted want to restore trust in their organisation, if they want to be sure they're not going to have another prevention of future death report landing on their desk in a few years' time.
Do you think the new? I mean, that was going to be one of my other questions. Is, in your view, what the consequences are of this going through in its current form, or like you've suggested, a tweaked form? What do you see? Do you see that as being exactly the same, basically, as it was before? I mean,
it's not exactly the same. I mean, a lot of it, obviously, we're talking here, aren't we, mainly about the report card that Ofsted were trusted to come up with. It was, the Labour government's idea to have a report card. They come into power and they give it to Ofsted to sort out. Despite all of the flaws found in that organisation. Obviously, there has also been a consultation, the DFE consultation, about the broader school accountability system, including, more of an emphasis certainly on support, on these RISE groups, whatever, regional improvement groups and so on, which, if implemented properly, might help, not that kind of automatic academisation, SLT pretty much automatically lose their job. So, there are things in there that sound sensible and might help. I think, I'm not the only one who signed that letter and beyond who's worried about how these different things are going to work together. I'm more than a bit concerned about quite how much new stuff has been sort of shoved into an already overloaded system, splitting at the seams, to be achievable in 2 days. I have heard that there is dissent within Ofsted as well, that inspectors have said to Martin Oliver that they don't think that the report card as it's being presented is workable. There's
Do you feel though, I mean, coming back to a speech you made at the NEU, I think it was the NEU conference, it might have been last year, when you said that you, and again, feel free to correct me on this, you were basically saying that calling for the abolition of Ofsted wasn't a very good idea. And obviously there are big chunks of the NEU membership, let's say, obviously other unions, it might not be as clear cut, but in the NEU, there is certainly a big movement there to abolish Ofsted. Do you regret saying that, or are you sort of still on board with that way of thinking from then to now?
At the time, I said it, and all the way through, I've been saying that by pushing for something that almost certainly is unachievable, certainly in the short term, the danger is you end up sort of shutting doors that might be open to discussion. I think as well, it plays into the kind of narrative that Martin Oliver has said in speeches. Oh, there are people there who think schools should not be accountable. There are accountability systems. I think this is one of the points that the Education Select Committee inquiry made. There are school accountability systems in countries around the world with better educational results than the UK that do not have inspections, and certainly do not have inspections in the way that we have them. So I suppose that kind of the sort of knee-jerk, very understandable reaction to say abolish Ofsted, and it's that'll make everything right, potentially opens just another whole can of worms, because I don't think any government anytime soon is going to say that schools aren't accountable, or put money back in local authorities to, do their accountability themselves. So what I was very, very disappointed about, I must say, when Labour announced, first of all, I mean, I wasn't disappointed with this. I was very pleased, as I'm sure most people in education were, that one of the first things they did when they came in was to remove the single word judgments. I've been disappointed that seems to be pretty much it. Again, maybe very performative. We'll scrap single word judgments, what everyone's calling for. The Tories had refused to do it. Phew, right, that's it. And then they entrusted Ofsted to come up with a replacement system. And
did you want government did you want them to do that?
Well, I think what needed, I'm not speaking just for myself here. No. It just beggars belief that an organisation that has been issued with the Prevention of Future Deaths report, for a start, with very scathing criticisms about its grading system and the implications of that has been issued again with a long list of recommendations from a cross-party parliamentary inquiry, and to boot has, if anyone out there hasn't read Christine Gilbert's independent learning review of Ofsted, read it. I mean, if that was a school, the idea that the school would be allowed to put its own problems right is just, it beggars belief. So I think in terms of entrusting Ofsted to reform themselves, I don't think was the right move. And I am not convinced that Ofsted have been, they've had a big listen, they've had a consultation, but they haven't, I don't think, been engaging properly, meaningfully with people within the education system who are experts on accountability, etc., on creating this new framework. It's been more, here we are, we've come up with this, what do you think of it? They're consulting on something that they themselves have developed. And,
I know you've said it's only, I'm only one voice and there's a range of voices, but we can't deny that you have become a very influential person, or I'm not going to use that term spokesperson, but person within this context. Is there anything that you, based on that, I'm going to use a big word here, but you can water it down if you want. Is there anything you regret? Is there anything you, in the last 2 years, think, I should have pushed harder on that, or I should have sort of shut up when they said that, or I should have done, or are you sort of going, I've done everything I can, I'm comfortable with everything I've done, and I'm happy to.
I think it's more the latter, which not to go, I'm going to give myself a big pat on the back, I couldn't have done anything wrong, of course. And I'm sure, there are interviews where I've said things where I got afterwards, whoops, maybe I shouldn't have done. Or
I wasn't saying that, by the way.
Yeah. No.
I was just interested from your perspective.
No. It's an interesting question, and it's one I ask myself quite a lot, really. I suppose this comes back to the question you were asking me about, why didn't I say abolish Ofsted? I've had a lot of people saying to me, could imagine you on the, marching up at Rishi Sunak's door or whatever and going, Ofsted killed my sister, abolish Ofsted. And I'm going, well, I'm human. But that would have got me absolutely nowhere. And what's more important than some kind of knee-jerk emotional response, whatever, is to do what I can to prevent what happened to my sister happening again, and therefore to be open, to engage. When doors are opened, I will walk through them in good faith. But I stand my ground. I'm sure Martin Oliver's never going to go out and in public and say some of the things I've said to him behind closed doors, or to Bridget Phillipson, or to Number 10 a couple of weeks ago. I do speak my mind in those meetings, But I don't know, if you go in sort of super aggressive and confrontational, the drawbridges get pulled up. And I do wonder, this week signing this letter, that might be it. But I have got to a point of frustration, really, when
I'm interested though why
spoken to. Well, unless anyone out there can say, no, you need to speak to this person. This is the person who really can change things. I feel like, we've had a change of government. We've had promises of reform. This is, party for change. Come on then. Put your money where your mouth is. Change. Not change for change's sake. The right change. Might not be easy to make the change right.
Like time's running out though? Because once this comes in, you sort of feel as though once this comes in, the change has been made. And if there's going to be another change, it's certainly not going to be in the near future.
There's that danger, I suppose. I mean, that's why this open letter has been sent. When it's using the word pause, pause. It's not pause and then implement these same changes. It's no, stop, rethink, engage with the right people, do what you've been told to do, respond to the coroner's findings, respond to the parliamentary inquiry recommendations, respond to Christine Gilbert's report's recommendations, talk to the profession, talk to suicide prevention professionals.
But they would argue they already have, because they did the big listen, they did various consultations, they probably had tons of emails from different, over the last 2 years about different things. Meetings with you, meetings with different people, loads of stuff.
Yeah, but I suppose it comes back again, doesn't it? That question you asked before, I've been listened to. Well, they've listened to me. Every meeting I go in with notes, and I leave them here. These are my main points, just in case I don't, you forget or I don't get everything across. Here we are. Here are my points. Sure. This is, these are the actions. This is what I want out of this meeting. If they then don't act, I don't know what your views are on the big listen, or actually on these consultations. But my yeah, I'll take that face. But my worry is that, I'm not the only person to call the big listen a big distraction. It was just like we've got to buy some time because there's likely to be election and there might be different things. So we'll have a big listen to everybody. And then the danger of that, and now a consultation as well, lots and lots and lots of listening, but there are actions they absolutely have to do to keep teachers and head teachers safe that they haven't acted on still, that preceded the big listen, that preceded this consultation. And to sort of pretend they've responded in full and now we're moving on is reckless.
So that's last question really, is circling back to the first thing I said, which is, I was talking about the letter and I was saying it's critical of Bridget Phillipson. I mean, and you said it's not necessarily critical of her, but it's critical of the situation we found ourselves in. But do you feel like let down by Bridget Phillipson or not? Are you saying she's doing her best?
Bridget Phillipson has assured me that this is a genuine consultation. So they will take all the views received on board. My concern about that, having then seen what was in both consultations, is, are they asking the right questions? How of the right people? Neither the launch of neither consultation, neither Ofsted nor DFE made any mention at all of Ruth's death, of the coroner's report, of the Education Select Committee inquiry, of Christine Gilbert's review. No mention at all. So, if this new system is going to prevent future deaths and harm, they need to be asking questions about that, don't they? They're not just pretending it's being done, because the danger is, if you sort of, there have been changes made to the current system which mitigate the harm to a degree. They have made it better. There are lots of things that, that are better and might, who knows, have made a difference to Ruth. But if you then bring in a whole new system and forget about the lessons from then the danger is you sort of reintroduce those dangers. And the coroner at Ruth's inquest warned that there is a risk of future deaths if only lip service is paid to learning from tragedies like these. In launching these consultations, neither Ofsted nor the DFE even paid lip service. That's the thing that worries me. They don't even mention it, and there is virtually no reference to teacher well-being. And I am quite sure that Ofsted has not engaged with suicide prevention experts in devising this system, because no suicide prevention expert would condone a colour-coded system with that they've come up with. So yeah, that's what worries me. It worries me that this. Yes, there's been a listening exercise. Yes, there's been a consultation, but both of those exercises are flawed because they're not asking the right questions, and they're forgetting the really important lessons that still need to be learned from my sister's death to prevent that happening again.
Julia, thanks so much. Just to finish off, there's a few comments. I'll put a few of them up. So Robert said, we don't need the Nando-style report cards. Thank you, Robert. Deb says, what an incredibly eloquent lady. What existed prior to Ofsted. Each inspection I've been a part of is so artificial. It's meaningless in the day-to-day life of the school. So yeah, thanks for joining in the conversation, people on YouTube and X as well. Yeah, thank you very much. Julia, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure we'll talk again somewhere down the line.
Yeah, let's hope it's with good news this time.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and then I can retire from this. Yeah.
We'll
and if I could say or something, I said to since I have your ear and the teaching profession's ear, one of the things that still strikes me, and the reason I'm doing this, is I still get contacted by teachers and head teachers who've been traumatized by inspections, who understand sadly only too well how Ruth felt, and who are too frightened to speak out themselves. And so that's why I'm speaking out. And if anyone is out there who's listening who feels like that, it's not you. Get help. You're doing a fantastic job, all of you teachers. I'm in awe of teachers and head teachers, the job you do in very difficult circumstances, and made to mop up problems that are not of your creation. So stay strong, keep doing a great job, and fingers crossed, and try and get rid of at least one of those awful burdens and unnecessary burdens on you.
Thank you so much, Julia. You made so many interesting points as well in that conversation. So thank you ever so much for giving us some time to be with us. And
it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.